I get the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker. I got to meet him. He called me for breakfast, and I met him, and all of a sudden I found out we've got kind of a kinship. There's just this kind of one thinking that I like the way he thinks. We had lunch, had breakfast, and so forth, got to speaking. I very much have grown to love this man. And as a result, I asked him, says, would you like to speak at my church sometime? Because he also has ministries that he's been doing throughout the 30 years that he's been Christian. But Iowa State Senator Jim Carlin and his wife Donna is here, and they're going to be sharing the word with us. And I am going to tell you, he represents us at the state Senate, and he is going to be running for U.S. Senate here in the United States. So I'm very, very pleased to announce that Iowa State Senator Jim Carlin gets to speak.
I forgot to turn my deal on. Hey, it's an honor to get to be here with you. I've really enjoyed getting to know Bill. Bill has an authentic heart for people. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about serving people. It's about adding value to people. It's about treating people with dignity who came from hard places and bringing them into their significance. You know, we talked this morning a little bit about restoring the dreams that you had, the dream that God put in each one of you. And I'm going to talk about that, a little bit about myself. I came out here 30 years ago. I started a law practice here in Sioux City, and I actually met and married my very first client. Her husband had left her with 3 kids, and I did her divorce. And I got to know her for 3 years. We had dinner almost every night with the kids. And I thought, I don't know what this guy missed, but this is like the nicest lady I've ever known. Like, really. And I used to love that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, with Donna Reed. I was just in Denison last week. And I loved that movie when I lived in New Jersey. That's kind of cool, because God brings me to Northwest Iowa, and I end up being married to a Northwest Iowa gal named Donna, who's, you know what I mean? Thank you. He knew the kind of wife I needed, and he gave me exactly what I needed to help me walk out his purpose for my life. So I'm very grateful for her and the 3 kids we raised and the 3 grandkids. And you know, people ask, why did you get into this? Why would you run against Chuck Grassley? My answer to that is really simple. My passion in life is children. And the idea, and I thought about this a while back, are my grandchildren going to be free in 20 years? When I thought about that, and I was honest, I said, I don't think so. Then the next question was, what are you going to do about it? Because I can't stomach the idea that that's on the horizon, and I can't be passive about it. We can't be passive about the purpose that God called you to. You have to get the fire going in that belly. Get the fire going for what he called you to, and you have to get after it, and we're going to talk about that today. But he put a unique, wonderful purpose in each one of us. That's why everybody in this room looks different. Everybody in this room thinks different, because there's a uniqueness to you. And uniqueness to you that people need. There's a unique purpose to your life that people need. Did you know people will suffer loss if you don't do what you're made to do? That's really true. People will suffer loss if you don't do what you're made to do. He made you to serve people. And a while back, I tell this anecdotal story because this kind of taught me that I could make a difference. I didn't tell this the first service, but this really happened. I got a call on a Friday night from a woman who was very frantic and emotional and upset. And I'm just on my way out the door to go home to dinner. And she says, I want to sue Planned Parenthood. And I said, so do I. I said, why do you want to sue Planned Parenthood? She said, I had an ultrasound 8 weeks ago, and I found out today I have 1 week to have an abortion. Oh, wow. I said, can I ask you a couple questions? And she said, yeah. I said, why are you having an abortion? She said, my husband just left me. I have 3 kids. I work at the Takeout Valentino's on Morningside Avenue, and there is no way I can take care of a 4th child. I don't have the resources. I can't do it. And I said, well, can I ask you another question? And she said, yeah. I said, have you ever thought about adoption? Sometimes just us sharing a little light in a dark situation. All I said was, you ever thought about adoption? She said, no. I said, well, is money a big problem for you? And she said, yeah. I said, if I gave you $500 a month to carry that child to term, would you take me up on it? And several months after that baby's born? And she said, you would do that? And I said, yeah. I got a check for you. Come get it. I'll be waiting. She was in my office 10 minutes later. Sometimes people are in very desperate situations, and God puts you there to help them out of a desperate situation. Right? So, yeah. I mean, he orchestrated it. He gave me the money to help. I was just there, and I said, I couldn't think of anything else. I'm like, how do we save this baby? How do we save this baby? And God's answer to saving a lot of people is you. God's answer to saving a lot of people is you. So she's in my office 10 minutes later. And I said, I'll see you next month. And next month came and went. She didn't show. You know, your heart sinks because you're like, we lost that baby. And then a year later, I get a thank you note in the mail with a picture of a little baby girl. Yeah. Beautiful little baby girl. And it was just this beautiful, tender note. And then, like the weightiness of that hits you. You're like, oh my goodness, God used me to save the life of a human being. That's a weighty thing. Your life, your purpose is a weighty thing. We get so much media, so many movies, so many junk in our heads that we forget about the weightiness of the meaningfulness of our purpose in life to help other people, because it's real. It's real. It's real. Your life's purpose is real. 15 years later, I'm walking around Morningside Avenue to run for the Iowa House, and I knock on this one door. Guy opens the door, he goes, Jim! And I'm like, I don't know you. And he invites me in like he's my best friend, and I'm like, usually that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. But I was like, okay, I'm going to humor this guy. He's probably going to talk my ear off, but I'm going to humor him. And he walks me into his living room. And a couple minutes later, this lady walks into the living room. And I'm like, you look really familiar. And she says to me, Jim, I'm Kathy. And I went, wow, you're the mom. I didn't say that out loud, but I'm like, you're the mom. And we both started to cry. And she said, I want to show you something. And she walks me into the kitchen. And there on the refrigerator is a 15-year-old girl on a horse on a family farm in Nebraska. Right? Yeah. And I'm like thinking, that girl on that refrigerator, she was with me there in her mom's womb that day. She was with me right there. She was inside her mom's womb. But the reality of her being in that womb is every bit as real as her being on that horse. We got to think about the lives of one another, because there are people in this room that if you treat them right and you talk to them right, they're going to step into a significance where they make a big difference in this world. Right? That's true. They just need to be encouraged. And that was a nudge from God to tell me I could make a difference, and that going into government was authored by Him. And He's used me that way. The heartbeat bill. Is it okay if I tell a story about the heartbeat bill? You guys know who Rick Bertrand is, right? Anybody? Well, Rick, I prayed God. I said, God, we got to get this heartbeat bill done. How do we do it? I prayed. And you know something? He told me to talk to Rick Bertrand, of all people. Rick's a Catholic. Rick and I didn't really talk a lot. I said, but I knew Rick cared about life. Rick Bertrand was a pro-life guy. Rick's also a tough guy. He's like a riverboat gambler, kind of a tough guy, but a good guy. And he said, give me a day and I'll think about it. He came back to me the next day. He said, Carlin, if you and me can get 2 other senators to tell them we're not going to give you a budget unless you give us the heartbeat bill, we can get this done. So you know what? We recruited 2 other senators, and we went to leadership. This really happened. Yeah. The heartbeat bill says if there's a discernible heartbeat, you cannot abort that baby. Right? 6 weeks. If you can discern a heartbeat, it's against the law. Well, we had a Supreme Court justice overturn that, and I was down about that, but you want to know something? It's the law in like 13 other states now. They copied our bill. So the influence went out. That's pretty cool. And you want to know something? All I had to do was show up. All I had to do was show up, and he orchestrated it. So, got to watch it. I got 15 minutes, looks like. All right. So now I'm going to get to the message here. You guys know about the parable of the sower, right? Did you know the parable of the sower is the story of your destiny? The parable of the sower is about your destiny. What are you going to do with that destiny? So when we look at Mark chapter 4, and of course I pulled the card out where it is, but I know where Mark is. Mark chapter 4, verse 13. Just going to read this real quick. Jesus said, "Don't you understand this parable? How then will you understand all parables? The sower sows the word, and these are the ones by the wayside where the word is sown. When they hear, Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their hearts." Those are people who have no regard for their destiny. Like, destiny is not part of their consciousness. I want to tell you something, and I want to give you a warning. There's a reason for your life.
That's right.
Your destiny should be how you think.
That's right.
Your destiny is your responsibility. So if you're like coasting through life, doing the 9-to-5 thing, and there's nothing wrong with the 9-to-5 thing. Going to work and being responsible is a great thing. But there's a reason you're here. And you need to be destiny conscious. Because if you are not destiny conscious, your destiny will not happen. It won't happen. That's exactly what happened to that first guy. God said, Hey, Bob, I have a destiny for you. And Bob kept walking. And God said, hey, Bob, I have a destiny for you. And Bob kept walking because Bob wasn't interested in his destiny. Get interested in your destiny. Get interested in your destiny. Because one day, he's going to say to you, you're going to have a very intimate one-on-one conversation where your eternity is going to be defined. This is kind of a weighty deal, guys. He's going to say, this is what I made you to do. These are the lives I made you to touch. I wish you had done it. Or, I am so glad you cared enough to do it. I'm so delighted you cared enough to find out your destiny. And you pursued it. And because you pursued it, people got helped. I'm so grateful to you, God will say, because you cared enough to find out why I made you, and you went after it, and you did it together. We did it together, didn't we? We walked out a life of faith together, you and me. And I did miracles in your life, and you listened to me, and you showed up where I needed you, and we had this wonderful life together. Your life was meant to be a journey of faith, where you and God have this really close relationship, where you walk together, and you pray and you say, God, how can I serve you? And how can I serve other people? And he shows it to you, and you do it. And you respond to him when he's talking to you. That first guy, he never thought about his destiny. And can I tell you, there's so much movie and media and internet, it's killing destinies. We're spending too much time looking at things that have no value in the kingdom. No value in the kingdom. Most of it is meaningless. It's okay to watch a movie to relax. I'm not like one of those Bible thumper people. But what you are thinking is where you are going. Okay? What you're thinking is where you're going. So then we get to the second guy. And he says, these are the ones who are sown on stony ground, who when they hear the word immediately receive it with gladness, and they have no root in themselves. And so endure only for a time. Afterward, when tribulation or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they stumble. Now, why do those people stumble? Because I wondered, what does that mean? No root in themselves. What does that mean? It means their identity, their destiny, never became their identity. If your destiny isn't a big part of your identity, it's not going to happen. And I'm sorry, do not buy the lie for 1 second that you weren't made for a great significance. That's a lie. That's a lie. That is a lie. You were made for a wonderful significance. If that's your mindset, throw it out. Put it in the trash. It's garbage. The idea that God would make you was an amazing idea. It was an intentional idea. It was an idea with a purpose where people were going to be helped by you. That is not a light thing. This guy never made his destiny image his identity. So he loved the idea. He just didn't make it his identity. And that's when pressure came. He was like the Vikings in the playoffs. He folded like a lawn chair. Sorry, Vikings fans, if that's all right. All right. Okay. Now, this is guy number 3, person number 3. Now, these are the ones that are sown among thorns. They are the ones who hear the word. They hear it. It gets in them. And the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches and the desire for other things entering in choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. So you made it part of your identity. You're at phase 2. Now you're going to step into phase 3, where the devil gets to sift you. You didn't prioritize your destiny. You went after money. You went after power. You went after prestige. Do you know what idolatry means? It means you went after the wrong image of yourself. That's in Isaiah 65. Isaiah 65, it says, you pursued the wrong image of yourself. I've seen this happen. I was the best man at a wedding. My friend Greg, married to a nice lady. He cheated on her. Destiny, done. Done. It trashed his life. I'm not saying God can't restore you, but you can't take fire to your breast and not be burnt. You can't. You can't. And you have to be very intentional. When you're married, you really have to cultivate the relationship with your spouse and make it a good one and a committed one. You have to do that. Don't go after money. When I was dirt poor, I was happy. You know what? Because I had God. And I'm pretty well provided for. I got to say, I'm successful. I was just as happy when it's not all about money. It's about, if you want to know what your life is really about, you want to have a rich life, the richness of your life is determined by how much you care for other people. That's the real wealth. The real wealth of life is looking in your own heart and asking yourself, do I care enough about other people to pursue my destiny? Because in the end, your destiny is about caring for other people. Do I care enough for other people that I'm going to sacrifice and commit to what God made me to do? That's the question you have to answer. This third guy went for other stuff. He went for the wrong things. He went for something besides his destiny. And he missed the whole purpose of his life. He missed the whole purpose of his life for a couple of bucks. Or some lady at the office, or some office in politics. Don't think I'm not aware of that. One thing I've learned is do not buy your own hype. Don't buy your own hype. If you want to know who you really are, talk to your wife. She'll tell you. She will. She will. My wife is a wise lady. I know a lot of stuff. She's got the wisdom and I got the knowledge. And sailing this ship is not easy without wisdom. So the last person does the right thing. It says, but these are the ones sown on good ground, those who hear the word, accept it, and bear fruit, some 30, some 60, and some 100-fold. Can you imagine if God says to you, you know what? You did it. You made it. You're 100-fold. You're a 60-fold. You made it. You did it. And because you did it, here in heaven, there's rewards. You're going to live out a wonderful life here that started here. Your eternity is going to be defined by your response to God. And My life with God really didn't improve until I changed a couple of habits. And I had a lot of other things to say, but we're coming up on. I asked God, I got saved, and I actually had a couple miracles early on. And I said, hey, God, where are you? Did you ever get there? Where are you? What's going on? Haven't heard from you in a long time. He spoke back to my heart and he said, well, the reason why you haven't heard from me is you don't spend any time with me. So I started to spend an hour a day with him, alone, listening to the Word, reading the Word, and sitting in a chair, and instead of praying, just listening. The one thing that you can do that will be a game changer is spend an hour a day early in the morning. You find your hour, but you commit to your hour with God. I guarantee you, I promise you, you will see change. You will see meaningful change. Our life is a reflection of our intimacy with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And he is a wonderful, 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 honest, close friend who will tell you the truth about what you need to do to get to where you need to go. Ben Franklin, I'm going to close with this. We can be practical about this. Ben Franklin said this. He said, no one is useless in this world who lightens the burden of someone else. If you're not sure about what you're supposed to be doing, it says in Galatians 5, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Pray Ephesians 1:17 that says that he may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation and the knowledge of him, the eyes of your understanding. You might want to write that one down. Being enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of your calling. Can I just tell you, people need you. People really need you. Never forget that. People really need, this is a lonely world we live in. It's a lonely world. People need you. And he's been able to do so many wonderful things just by getting alone with them. I started a book club at Fort Dodge Prison. And I'm a lay person. I don't even know what I'm doing. How as rough as that place? One of the guys in my book club got murdered. But I went to the prison. I did nursing home ministry for 18 years. When I asked God, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to go in the nursing home. I'm like, no, thank you. No, thanks. But you know what? I was like, no. Really, what do you want me to do? Really? I want you to go to the nursing home. I don't want to do that. Do it anyway. I visited the nursing homes for 18 years. Go into the rooms, give them a cookie, pray for them, give them a back rub, because they're sitting in that wheelchair all day long. Give them a kiss on the cheek. Make them feel human when nobody visits them. And I started a nonprofit corporation in Africa to help Kenyan orphans. And I never had any idea how all those things were going to happen. Not the slightest idea. And then this thing. This is just politics done the right way is just another ministry. So the point is, ask him what to do now, and he'll open more doors for you down the road. I just want to say this. Please, please, please take that to heart, because people need you. Thanks, Pastor.
That was good. Huh? Let me finish with this. Be strong and courageous, for you shall give this people possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous. Be careful to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you may have success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it, and then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have success.
Amen.
If there's anything that you should have got out of this, is you were made to have a destiny to show His presence to those that are lost.
Amen.
Without you doing that, it's not going to happen.
Amen.
God will probably find somebody else, but it was your purpose
Amen.
to walk forward with His Word. Amen? Everybody stand up.